Must just firstly, how do you rationalize a loss where you hold their top scorer to no points and still, end up kind of slipping away at the end there?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Wisconsin played hard. I thought they played smart. That's why they're ranked. Saint was assigned to number 9, and he did a great job. Not a good job, a great job. But the blow-bys by the other, by the Wisconsin guards was, it was like it was early in the year. So I'm not going to sit up here and call guys out. But it's quite evident that Saint and Rashawn played with great energy. So I can credit those two guys.
Actually, I have 2 quick questions. One is, what was going wrong with their guards being able to come down the lane basically unimpeded?
Well, they're good.
Yeah, they're good.
They're ranked. What's Wisconsin's record?
Don't know.
14-3.
14-3. They're pretty good, and Blackwell's really good. Not just now; he's good last week, and he's good the week before. And our 2 guards did not defend their 2 guards because their starting point guard. I don't think he's quicker, number 11, than our guys, but he found angles and he got to the rim. So,
When that happened, though, it looked like nobody rotated over to try to.
it's really hard to rotate when you have all red shooters out there, which means 3-point shooters. I mean, maybe you have a defensive scheme you can get me. I'd love to get it. But when they go in the first half 7 of 15, you have to stay attached to the shooters. Normally, that would be your normal thinking if USC is not a lights out from 3 shooting team. So it's the first team we've played, including Iowa, that we felt had 5 guys that could all make a 3, whether they had their starters in or their subs. So you give and take something. You can't take away the 3 and the dribble drive unless you're a great defensive team in the NBA. You can't. You got to decide what you're going to do. So, back to Luka's thing on their leading scorer. When you come into the game, you do have to game plan for their leading scorer. Well, he has 0 points. So I can't plug 99 holes in a 40-minute game. I'd love to, but I'm not that smart.
Was there any message for Desmond at halftime to try and maybe get him going in the second half after going scoreless?
Yeah, I mean, we tried to run a couple plays for him. His 5 turnovers, that's a lot of turnovers at the point guard position. Wisconsin's not really a high steal team. They had a lot tonight, so credit their load-up defense to the ball because that's what they do. They were active. They were alert. Again, they're a really good team. I mean, Michigan was really good, and Wisconsin was really good. I mean, and we had no home court advantage. I mean, that's just how it is. It's been that way, and we got to continue to work as a program, to make it more of a home court advantage. Because I know it's going to be a home court advantage when we go to Nebraska. I know that. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. Because they're 20-1 or 21-1 in their last 22 home games. So we have to figure out how to get ready on the road, which we have for the most part. I think we've done a good job taking the opposing team's home crowd out of it, even for stretches at Indiana when we lost that game. But we're dealing with travel, we're dealing with home court, we're dealing with a lot of stuff, and we just got to try to keep trying to figure it out.
Coach, it sounds like you're more disappointed with the defense of the guards, but again, the big men have a lot of success tonight. That happened against Indiana, happened against Iowa. Is that just something that you maybe don't have the roster to slow down some of these bigs, and that's just something you're going to give up?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some truth to that, but like 22 is probably their most effective big, and you know, if you told me he had 9 and 3, you know, we tried to go at him a little bit and get fouls, which we did, which limited his minutes. But again, I mean, it's, you know, when we switched and Desmond plays behind, I already can tell you the answer to that. That's, you know, our scheme is to switch in front when we're small. And we didn't do that. He didn't do that in particular. So if you're going to play behind a 7-footer and you're our point guard, I can pretty much tell you the results of what will happen. So we have to execute better. That's always on the coaching staff. It's not on the players. We have to do that more in practice. Switch front, you know, weak side help. I mean, that's something that we have to do. But I mean, in my opinion, again, obviously you guys, I haven't watched the film, but I thought 25 Blackwell took the game over at the beginning. And the difference in the game was his spurt ability scoring the ball. And then I thought, you know, 11, those two guys are the two guys that played well. Obviously, Winter played well too inside, but I thought their two guards really hurt us.
Eric, sorry. Just in terms of home court, like you mentioned earlier, how much is it trying to rebuild a program, but also being in a new conference and that novelty factor of opposing teams coming here for the first time in a while?
Can you maybe go into more detail? I mean, obviously we're new.
Well,
year.
Wisconsin hasn't been in LA since I think '82.
Yep.
And you've got a lot of these programs that have never been here before, and you have a large West Coast base of opposing alumni
Yep.
who normally don't see these teams here. So
Yeah, they're excited. You can tell. I mean, it's been a couple games now. The last 3 minutes in the game, you hear the opposing crowd very loud, you know. And so for them, it's probably great. For us, not so great, you know, especially if you don't win at home. So I think all the Big Ten schools, like the traditional Big Ten schools, have always had a great following. I can go all the way back to 1970 when my dad was coaching at Minnesota. And Williams Arena was sold out, 19,000 people, and then the hockey arena was sold out too, and the game was shown on closed circuit TV. So I mean, I'm well aware of, you know, the great history of the Big Ten basketball. I can't speak for any other sport, but I was in elementary school, 3rd grade, traveling to Wisconsin when Kim and Carrie Hughes were playing there. I've been in that building, you know, and so now that they get to come out here, the travel's different. You know what I mean? I don't think we're going to play anybody that's 12 miles away. They get to go play UCLA, to my knowledge, next, right? So that's but it is what it is. Like, we're in the Big Ten now, and we got to figure it out. That's our job.
Couple things. Just firstly, to go off that, I don't know if you saw Mick Cronin, you know, last night, but he said, you know, ask Eric Musselman. It's a lot harder to go west to east, you know, from your time in the NBA than it is to go east to west. Just with that, the fact that you guys are doing that 4 times this year, and opposing teams only have to do that once to come out to LA. The fact that you guys still don't have much of a home court advantage. How tough is all of that kind of factoring into what you guys are trying to do right now?
I mean, I think, it's a known fact when you go west to east, you know. I mean, it's not my opinion. That's the opinion of every NBA team. Probably saying, I don't know any of the NHL coaches, but I know. But there's no excuse, you know. Like, I'm a competitor. I want a locker room full of competitors. I'm not telling them, you know, when we go to Indiana that, hey, guys, we had to travel. It's okay. Like, I'm going in that locker room with the game plan and trying to win the game. Is it super challenging? Yes. I'll give you an example if anyone wants a story time. My first game going west to east, we had a shoot-around. Our shoot-around slot was 10 a.m. One of our high character players grabbed me before the shoot-around and said, Coach, you can't ever have a shoot-around on day 1 of a west to east trip. We're all asleep. Like, you're not going to get anything out of us. And that was a true statement. So we have to figure out, like, what's our travel and all that. But it's not it's not tripping up our women's team, right? They're super talented, they're well coached, and they're going out kicking butt when they have to travel. So, you know, we're not going to sit here and ever, like, I watched Coach Gottlieb's team. They go in there and just beat people by 30 on the road with the same travel. So eventually we got to get to that point. Whenever, men's game, you're not going to win by 30 on the road all the time, but we have to figure out how to go on the road like we are and compete, and we got to play better at home. Right now, we got to play better at home. We'll see what happens, at Nebraska, but right now we're holding serve on the road up to this short sample size, but really not doing that at home, because you got to have a home court advantage. I mean, you got to win 8 out of 10 games at home. Or you can't play in March. That's again, that's factual, not an opinion.
Real quick, Rashawn, with how well he's been playing recently, do you think about changing up the lineup, starting him instead of Josh? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think we've talked about that. We've discussed it. Even tonight, we didn't get down that much. That first media time, I think whatever Josh was, he was not plus or minus. So he's the one guy that, in his, 4 minutes, he's the only guy that wasn't in the minus. So I like bringing Rashawn off the bench and maybe starting him in the second half if he's playing well. Josh really hasn't done anything for us to take him out. He wasn't the issue tonight at all. We fell behind. I thought Rashawn gave us a different look. We have thought about it, talked about it, but again, I don't like Josh has, none of this was on him tonight at all.
Last question.
Coach, can you explain your thinking? In the first half, you took Dez out, I think 4 times, but it was only 3 times, but it was like for 30 or 60 seconds at a time. And could you explain what your thought process was?
I didn't think he was helping us enough. Otherwise, I would have left him in the game. And defensively, we've got to play better. Again, Rich, I don't like to call out players. So we subbed him in and out. Hopefully, anytime we sub, it's to either get a player a blow or it's to explain a coverage. And we didn't think he was playing up to what he's capable of during that stretch or segment, whatever you want to call it.
All right, thank you all.